welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to navigate, well, the often kind of turbulent waters of modern life by looking at an idea that might seem a bit backwards. Stillness. Our main guide for this is Ryan Holiday's book, Stillness is the Key. We've gone through excerpts, some endorsements too, from people like Cal Newport and Robert Greene, to really pull out the core stuff for you.
And, you've told us you want to get knowledge quickly, get those aha moments without feeling totally swamped.
Exactly.
So that's what this deep dive is aiming for. We're extracting the crucial ideas from Holiday about stillness and how you can actually use them.
Yeah, what really hit me about the book was this core thought, that inner peace, that stillness, isn't just some nice-to-have thing.
Right.
It's actually fundamental, like essential for getting through life today and, performing at your best.
Yeah.
And it seems like this isn't new thinking either.
No, not at all. Ancient philosophers, successful people throughout history, they kind of knew this already.
It's fascinating how the book frames it, though, that stillness isn't something you have to go get.
It's inherent.
Right. It's something we have, but it's just buried under all the noise, the distractions. Modern life, basically.
Yeah, it feels hard to find sometimes, but the idea is we can learn to tap back into it, reactivate that strength that's maybe gone a bit dormant.
So that's our mission today. Uncover how to do that.
And we're going to break it down into three main areas the book covers. The mind first, then the spirit or soul.
Right. He uses both terms.
Yeah. And finally, the body. And for each one, we'll pull in some, cool historical examples and practical things to think about.
Okay, let's dive straight into the mind then. And wow, what a starting point. The Cuban Missile Crisis. JFK.
Talk about high pressure.
Oh, seriously. The stakes just couldn't be higher.
Absolutely. Just imagine October 1962, the whole world holding its breath, nuclear war felt, well, incredibly real.
And Kennedy was still pretty new to the job, right?
Relatively, yeah. Limited executive experience, plus he'd had setbacks like the Bay of Pigs, that tough summit with Khrushchev.
And Khrushchev was lying about the missiles in Cuba.
Outright deception, yeah. So the pressure to react forcefully must have been immense.
So where does stillness even fit in there? It feels like the opposite of what you'd need.
Well, that's the interesting part. The book argues Kennedy's key move was resisting that first impulsive reaction. Instead of just going with his gut, he had to step back, get the facts straight, really understand what was happening.
And there's evidence of this.
Yeah, things like his handwritten notes. Apparently he kept writing down keywords: missile, veto, leaders, consensus. It suggests this really focused, almost like a meditative process. And those stories about him drawing sailboats during tense meetings.
I remember reading that.
It shows him finding these little ways to create mental space, calm amidst the chaos. He boiled it down to the absolute essential. We demand withdrawal.
So stillness wasn't inaction. It was the space before action.
Exactly. That pause between the impulse and the response, his doodling, his note-taking, it was all about creating that vital moment for rational thought. Anyone can use that under pressure, really.
That sailboat image is really powerful, a small anchor. And you mentioned Liddell Hart's influence, the strategist.
Yes, that idea of not backing your opponent into a corner, trying to see their side, it was crucial.
So the blockade was a result of that thinking.
Pretty much. It was less aggressive, it bought time, gave Khrushchev room to reconsider. Strategic patience, Using time itself as a tool instead of just immediate force.
Which ties into the lessons from the 1930s, avoiding unchecked aggression escalating.
Right. But the danger was still unbelievable. Russian ships, subs, maybe with nukes, that U-2 plane shot down.
And some missiles were actually armed. Jeez.
The tension was extreme. Kennedy knew it. He had that quote, something like, "It isn't the first step that concerns me."
Both sides escalating to the fourth and fifth step.
And we don't go to the sixth because there is no one around to do so. Chilling. Even Khrushchev eventually got it, called them blind moles heading for disaster.
So for us, listening now, what's the main takeaway from Kennedy's experience, beyond just stay calm?
Well, it wasn't just about not panicking. It was the power of a calm, rational mind leading the way. Not fear, not ego, not recklessness.
Right.
It really shows the value of patience, empathy, trying to see the other perspective, restraint, finding quiet moments to think clearly, and of course, listening to good advice. Mastering your own thoughts, basically.
Got it. Okay, quite a shift now. The book moves to performance art. Marina Abramovich,
Yeah, the artist is present, that famous piece at MoMA.
where she just sat silently staring at people for hours.
Exactly, and think about the incredible focus, the discipline that took, just being present silently for that long with stranger after stranger.
I heard people had really strong reactions.
Very emotional, yeah. Many felt it connected them back to something deep within themselves. Her performance kind of forces you to confront how uncomfortable we are just being present.
Right.
The takeaway isn't just a simple be present, it's more like actively fight that urge to escape the now. Even discomfort can teach you something.
It sounds incredibly hard. Didn't she say something like, the hardest thing is doing something close to nothing?
She did, and it rings true, doesn't it? How often are our minds just elsewhere, even when things are quiet?
Totally. Thinking about work during dinner, planning the weekend during a meeting?
Or, like the book says, you see a beautiful sunset, and your first thought is grabbing your phone,
Guilty.
instead of just soaking it in. We miss so much by not being fully there.
It's ironic too, right? People rushing to be first in line for her exhibit, then fidgeting, checking their phones while waiting, anything but being present.
It just shows how ingrained that impulse to escape the present moment is. The book has that nice reminder, this moment, right now, it's a gift. That's why we call it the present.
Oh, clever.
And even the tough moments, the boring ones, they have value if we actually engage with them fully. Just accept it, make the best of it. Don't overcomplicate.
And you always get another chance in the next moment.
Exactly, a continuous second chance.
Okay, next up, limiting inputs. This section brings in Napoleon, Eisenhower, even a baseball player, Sean Green. What connects them?
They all got the power of being selective about what gets into their heads. Napoleon, for instance, delaying opening his mail.
Yeah, that's wild.
Knowing trivial stuff would just sort itself out. Or only wanting to be woken for genuinely bad news. It's about filtering the noise, consciously curating his mental space.
Which is like the exact opposite of now, always on, always checking news feeds, social media.
Right. The book calls out the CNN effect, that constant news cycle overwhelming us. Herbert Simon called it a poverty of attention. We think we need to know everything instantly.
But maybe we don't.
Epictetus basically said, be okay with seeming clueless about unimportant stuff. Cultivate some distance from the 24/7 news, the trends, the overflowing inbox. It's crucial for clarity.
Makes sense. And Eisenhower, his approach was more structured.
Very structured. Strict chain of command for info, that famous Eisenhower box, sorting tasks by urgency and importance.
Urgent important, not urgent important, etc.
Exactly. Another way to manage the external demands, protect that inner stillness needed for big decisions. The book asks, what if we spent as much time listening to our inner voice as we do to all the outside chatter?
Good question. And Sean Green, the baseball player, how does he fit?
It's a great example because it's about internal noise. He was in a slump, trying harder, wasn't working.
Right.
So he turned to Buddhist ideas, basically trying to clear his head. Yogi Berra said, it's impossible to hit and think at the same time.
Ah, classic.
Green focused on just the mechanics being present, that chop wood, carry water idea.
And it worked.
Dramatically. He finally quieted his mind, played with joy instead of pressure, and had this unbelievable game. It just shows how getting out of your own head lets your actual skills shine.
Overthinking just gets in the way.
Yeah.
Related to that is slowing down, actually thinking. Mr. Rogers is the example here.
Yeah, and that blinking yellow traffic light in the show's opening.
I never thought about that.
It's subtle, right, but it's a symbol. Slow down, be considerate, be aware. The whole show had that vibe.
And Epictetus again.
About testing your impressions, not just reacting. The book uses that analogy of the world being like muddy water.
Ah, yes. Stillness lets the mud settle.
Exactly. Then you can see clearly. So much trouble comes from reacting to untested ideas, to shadows. We need to make time to really think about what matters, what's really going on, the bigger picture, all of it.
Okay, another practical tool the book emphasizes, journaling. Anne Frank, Marcus Aurelius, Da Vinci.
Right. Quite a list. Anne Frank's story is so powerful. Her diary wasn't just recording events, it was her confidant.
A safe space.
Totally. She said, paper has more patience than people. Just brilliant. Even in that horror, she used writing for reflection, self-improvement, finding stillness through writing.
And so many others did it too. Oscar Wilde, Susan Sontag. Seneca apparently reviewed his day every night before sleep.
Yeah, a kind of mental inventory. The book makes a strong case, actually, that journaling might be the most important thing you do all day.
Wow.
For processing, understanding yourself, just getting clarity.
Okay, next. Cultivating silence. John Cage comes up here.
Yeah, the composer. He was fascinated by silence early on, even suggested a national day of quiet so we could hear what other people think.
Hmm. We could probably use that now.
Right. We need those pauses from the constant noise just to recharge, to hear ourselves think or hear what the world is trying to tell us.
And Socrates. His wisdom came from admitting ignorance.
He knew nothing except just the fact of his ignorance, that humility, knowing what he didn't know, willing to be wrong. It's the opposite of reading just to confirm your biases, like the book contrasts with Hitler's approach.
Makes sense. It requires you to be open to seek out mentors, like Zeno hearing Socrates.
Exactly, inspired to find a teacher. The Buddhist idea of pabajja, to go forth, signifies that serious commitment to learning, admitting you need help.
So wisdom isn't about having all the answers.
No, it often comes from experience, from making mistakes, from seeing different perspectives. It might even make you feel less certain at first.
Sitting with doubt.
Right, to eventually get to the truth.
Okay, the last bit on the mind. Confidence versus ego. David and Goliath.
Yeah, David's confidence came from experience fighting lions and bears. Not just empty bluster, he knew himself, refusing armor he wasn't used to.
That's self-awareness.
Totally. Contrast that with the loneliness of pure ego. The book mentions Trump, Alexander the Great, Howard Hughes. And the flip side, imposter syndrome. That feeling you're a fraud.
Which is mostly in our heads.
Usually, yeah. So the goal is that earned, rational, quiet confidence. Ulysses S. Grant is another example.
How so?
He developed this calm self-belief, maybe partly reacting to his father's ego. Even when things were tough, like struggling with poverty, he framed it as a problem to solve, unshakable in battle later on.
Inner stillness leading to resilience. And the archery master, Awakenso.
His focus was on detachment, not just technique. He told a student, "What stands in your way is that you have too much willful will."
Whoa, so trying too hard gets in the way.
It's a paradox, right? Sometimes mastering the mind means letting go of rigid control, like in golf or archery. Being too fixated on the result makes you tense up.
Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Exactly that. Kenzo emphasized the process, being present. Go on practicing as if nothing happened. Don't ask, practice.
And the lotus flower symbol.
Rising from the mud, floating serenely. Attached but detached, that's the ideal. Grounded but able to shrug off the muck. Build that inner mental vault.
Okay, that covers the mind. Let's move to the second domain, the soul or spirit. And we start with Tiger Woods.
Yeah, another really stark contrast. That incredible 2008 U.S. Open win, playing through intense pain, amazing discipline.
Unbelievable mental toughness.
But then his personal life unraveled, showing a real lack of that inner stillness, that peace.
The book looks at his upbringing, right? His father's influence, maybe suppressing emotions.
It suggests those early patterns, often unconscious, can really undermine us, even with huge external success. It argues that in chasing golf perfection, he might have pushed aside other vital things: empathy, connection, a moral center.
Ouch. So the idea is you need to train that wild spirit inside.
Yeah, align the rational, achieving part of you with your emotional, ethical side. Like the book says, what good is ruling an empire if you can't rule yourself?
So the work of the soul is about what exactly?
Developing that moral compass, handling negative emotions better, healing old wounds, practicing gratitude, building relationships, believing in something bigger, knowing material stuff has limits, choosing virtues to guide you.
Like strength and courage or patience and kindness.
Right. Examining what you're really living for. Confucius's gentleman is self-possessed and relaxed.
But then Seneca comes up again as a sort of counterexample.
Yeah, eloquent about morality, but his own life was full of ambition, questionable wealth. He didn't fully live his philosophy. Chasing prizes over virtue cost him in the end.
Virtue as true and steadfast judgment, leading to peace. A more sustainable path.
The book argues yes, because no one can stop you from knowing what's right, from acting with integrity.
And Leonardo da Vinci's childhood.
Yeah.
Illegitimate, feeling rejected by his father.
So sad. And the book connects that to his later life, always seeking patrons, that almost desperate need for validation, maybe why he left so many things unfinished. Like a little kid inside still acting out.
You're not my dad, you don't really love me. I'll show you.
Basically, yeah. Those childhood wounds run deep. Rick Ankiel, the pitcher whose career imploded. Same idea, unresolved trauma bubbling up.
So how do you heal that?
The book suggests giving what you didn't get. Love more, be more generous, drop the old story, consciously choose a different path.
Powerful. Okay. Next, within the soul, beware desire. Eve to JFK.
Right, his public greatness alongside those private struggles with controlling impulses, appetites. His father's example wasn't great there either.
Being enslaved by urges doesn't really mesh with self-mastery.
Not at all. And the book also hits hard on envy, that lust for what other people have. Epstein's quote is brutal. Of the 7 deadly sins, only envy is no fun at all.
True. It's just misery.
An endless, miserable loop. Resisting those impulses, examining where they come from, that builds spiritual strength. True pleasure comes from a stable soul, not chasing the next thing.
But more trapped.
Exactly. Which leads nicely into Eastern ideas about contentment, Lao Tzu. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you.
Wow. Not knowing contentment is the real misfortune.
And Western thinkers wrestled with it too. Epicurus, the Stoics like Seneca again, questioning if just accumulating wealth actually brings peace. How often do we work so hard for the family that we never see them?
Point taken. We're not just worker bees.
Right. You can do good work from a good place. People like Joseph Heller, John Stuart Mill, they found enough and still kept creating.
Okay, a shift towards something more positive. Bathe in beauty. And Frank again.
Finding solace in nature, even hidden away during the war, it's incredible.
Beauty remains, even in misfortune.
Such a powerful line. Nature as a healer, a source of strength. We just need to look for beauty in everyday moments.
Like John Stuart Mill finding peace in Wordsworth's poetry after his breakdown.
Inspired by nature, yeah.
Yeah.
And Teddy Roosevelt's forest baths. Shinrin-yoku, using nature as therapy.
Simple but profound. Then the idea expands. All is one. Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut.
Seeing Earth from space gave him this instant global consciousness.
Wow.
Realizing how connected everything is, how petty our squabbles seem from up there, it brought this deep calm.
Sympathia, the Greek idea.
Mutual interdependence, yeah. John Cage saw originality within that unity. Connecting with others because deep down we cherish similar things. We're connected across time and space.
Like we're all part of a long rope.
Thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings, made of the same stardust. Stepping back from our own stuff helps lessen the pain.
Especially important for ambitious creative types, maybe, who live in their heads.
Very much so. The less we fixate on being totally unique or special, the more we can understand and contribute. Finding peace in knowing we're all connected, even celebrating others' successes.
Okay, that wraps up the soul. Finally, the third domain, the body. Our physical selves, environment, habit.
And they're all linked, right? Mind, spirit, body. Trouble in one causes ripples elsewhere. Harmony is the goal.
First up, controlling your routine. Winston Churchill.
His daily routine was legendary. Baths, reading, writing, walks, naps, meals. Very structured.
And incredibly productive because of it.
Found a balance between discipline and passion. Even getting kicked out of office gave him needed rest, time for his memoirs, painting.
And Fabius Maximus, the Roman general.
His Fabian strategy against Hannibal. Deliberate restraint. Don't rush into battle, wear the enemy down.
But people were impatient.
Very. They pushed for action, abandoned his strategy, and got crushed at Cannae. Eventually, they realized he was right. Fabius Cunctator the delayer.
So sometimes waiting is the best move. Like a rookie batter learning patience.
Exactly. Pick your shots. Resist that urge to always be doing. Our best work often comes when we slow down.
Okay, then practice stillness covers a few things. Saying no.
Crucial. Getting better at protecting our time, our energy. Realizing when someone asks for your time, they're asking for a piece of your life.
That puts it in perspective. And walking. Kierkegaard again.
Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being. Stress relief, philosophical insights, just feeling better.
Lots of thinkers were walkers. Nietzsche, Tesla, Hemingway.
Darwin, Jobs, Kahneman.
Yeah. The book says even if you get interrupted, just walk some more. Keep at it.
And non-attachment to stuff.
The Stoic idea. Do your possessions own you? Questioning what we own, why we own it. Material things are fleeting, often bring burdens.
Luxury is a wolf at the door, creating dependency.
Right. Limiting possessions frees up mental space. Focus on comfort, necessity, experiences, not just showing off.
And solitude. Finding moments alone.
Essential for clear thinking. Da Vinci needed it for creative work. General Mattis noted a lack of reflection in leaders without it. But finding balance, right, not total withdrawal.
Definitely. And then the warning about overwork. Queen Victoria and Albert, his health suffered, maybe died from overwork. Karushi.
Gwarosa in Korean, death from overwork. Scary.
Even athletes burn out. Eliud Kipchoge, the marathoner, trains deliberately below his max effort for longevity.
Like the John Henry fable. Beat the machine, died trying.
It is always the anvil that breaks the hammer. The email can wait. Don't run on empty. Protect your body.
Which leads directly to sleep.
Yes, go to sleep. The American Apparel example is stark. Founder Dov Charney's extreme sleep deprivation.
It impaired his judgment.
Massively. Like being drunk, cognitively, erratic behavior, bad decisions fueled by lack of sleep. A vicious cycle.
That I'll sleep when I'm dead attitude.
It just makes death come faster, trading long-term health for short-term urgency. Foolish.
Then, a warning about escapism versus real leisure.
The key is intention. John Fonte, using pinball and drinking to avoid the pain of writing failures. That's escape, not restoration.
Like Johnny Cash's restless travel avoiding his marriage problems.
Exactly. It's avoiding life. Contrast that with Anne du Formental, the philosopher who died saving children, embodying her idea of embracing real risk for meaning.
Live as a coward or die a hero. Heavy.
Stillness isn't about hiding. It's a tool to do more good in the world.
Okay, the final piece. Amor fati. Loving fate.
Loving what is, accepting reality. Marcus Aurelius, his final word, equanimitas, equanimity.
Buddha's calm passing. His final teachings. Epicurus writing cheerfully near death, focusing on gratitude.
Finding peace by accepting the natural flow of things, the inevitable.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this all up. This deep dive covered stillness through the mind.
Mastering thoughts, presence, limiting inputs.
Through the spirit.
Virtue, managing desire, beauty, interconnectedness.
And through the body.
Routine, stillness in action, non-attachment, sleep, avoiding escapism, and amor fati.
It really paints a complete picture. Inner peace is the key to, well, everything that matters.
And it's a practice, right? Not a one-time fix. Constant self-awareness, discipline, looking inward. Not being passive, but creating that inner space for clarity, wisdom, a better life.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Where might you be mistaking busyness for productivity? Or distraction for actual rest? What's one small shift you could make, maybe even today, to bring in a little more stillness? And just imagine what that might unlock for you down the road. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thank you for joining us at Wisdom House, where we bring you timeless insights from the greatest books. If you found this deep dive valuable, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom House. Stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next video.